You have now established that please put the photos back up, that we are looking at a sex trafficking victim. Under the Federal Victims Trafficking Protection Act, not only is Jeffrey Epstein guilty, but anyone who patronizes Epstein's sex operation is also guilty of a crime. That's why I find it absolutely despicable that you sought to protect Epstein's clients, like former Prince Andrew. Epstein should rot in hell, so should the men who patronize his operation. And as we say here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
For a few minutes, Ted Lieu wasn't just questioning Pam Bondi. He was building a case right in front of her, piece by piece, and forcing her to respond while the room got tighter. He opened with Prince Andrew, shifted toward Donald Trump, and turned the exchange into a brutal argument over whether the Justice Department is ignoring evidence or refusing to touch politically explosive names. By the time it was over, nobody watching could miss how personal and how dangerous the whole confrontation had become. If you like political breakdowns that get straight to the pressure points, subscribe before we keep going, because that hearing got much more intense once Lieu stopped treating it like a normal round of questions.
I'm going to show you two photos of former Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. Under the law Congress passed, you were allowed to redact photos to protect the victims of Epstein's sex trafficking operation. You redacted the photos of this victim's face because you were following the congressional law. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, that we redacted the victim's
Because you were
face?
following the congressional law, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You have now established that please put the photos back up, that we are looking at a sex trafficking victim. Under the Federal Victims Trafficking Protection Act, not only is Jeffrey Epstein guilty, but anyone who patronizes Epstein's sex operation is also guilty of a crime. That's why I find it absolutely despicable that you sought to protect Epstein's clients, like former Prince Andrew. Last July, you closed the case on Epstein's abusers. The July 2025 memo from your Department of Justice stated, quote, "We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties." These two photos, please put the photos back up. These two photos staring you in the face are evidence of a crime and more than enough evidence to predicate an investigation against former Prince Andrew. So I ask you, Attorney General Pam Bondi, why did you shut down this investigation last July, and why have you not prosecuted former Prince Andrew?
Lieu opens in a very deliberate way. He does not begin with a broad accusation. He begins by getting Bondi to agree to one narrow point about the redaction. That matters, because once she confirms the photo involves a victim, he uses her own answer as the foundation for the larger charge. That is a classic hearing move. Lock down one fact first, build the harder accusations second. He wanted the audience to feel that Bondi had already helped establish part of his argument before he ever reached the real punch. The other thing worth noticing is the language he uses after that. He does not soften it. He says absolutely despicable. He says she sought to protect Epstein's clients. So right away, he is not acting like a member asking for clarification. He is acting like a prosecutor trying to corner a witness in public. My read on that opening is pretty simple. Lieu came in wanting maximum pressure from the first minute, and he made sure Bondi had almost no room to settle into a comfortable answer. But Bondi's first reply tells you where she wants to take the fight.
I don't believe you asked Merrick Garland these questions when he was Attorney General and set before.
I agree with you.
You twice.
I'm reclaiming my time.
Never
I agree with
mentioned
you. I agree with you. During the Biden administration, I called for people looking at Epstein files. Merrick Garland dropped the ball, as did Attorney General Bill Barr, as did Alex Acosta, a whole string of failures. But you are in charge. You have the power to change things, to hold these men accountable, and you're doing the opposite. You're protecting them. So I want to move on to another man.
Bondi's move here is not really a direct defense against the Prince Andrew point. She goes for a political counterpunch. Instead of staying inside his accusation, she tries to make the argument about selective outrage and past administrations. That is a familiar survival tactic in hearings. If the facts on the table are uncomfortable, widen the frame and argue that the other side only cares now because the person in charge changed. In other words, move from "did we fail here?" to Why were you quiet before? Lieu is ready for that. He actually agrees that earlier attorneys general failed too. That takes some air out of Bondi's response right away. Once he says yes, Garland dropped the ball, and so did Barr and Acosta. Her fallback line loses some force. At that point, the exchange becomes more dangerous for Bondi, because Lieu turns the conversation away from old blame and back toward present responsibility. He is saying, fine, others failed too, but you hold the office now. That keeps the spotlight right where he wants it. And from there, he makes the jump that got the hearing even hotter.
Can I answer
Donald
that,
Trump.
though?
I want to move on to another
Can I answer
question.
your question about protecting
You
Prince
answered the
Andrew?
question.
You're saying no. I love this.
I want to discuss another man, Donald Trump, who is all over the Epstein files, like former Prince. Here's a video. Like former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files
I'm reclaiming my time.
be
I got your
released.
answer. You said there's no evidence.
President Trump asked
Mr. Chairman,
the
please stop the
Congress
clock.
to
Please
sign
stop the clock.
the legislation.
Time.
This is
Time.
I'd like to reclaim
ridiculous.
my
Time belongs to the gentleman from California.
Okay.
Once Lieu says he wants to move on to Donald Trump, the whole temperature changes. Up to that point, the exchange is already tense. After that, it turns openly explosive. Bondi could have answered in a narrower way. She could have said she cannot comment on ongoing matters or on allegations not charged in court. Instead, she moves into full political defense mode. She talks about all the great things Donald Trump has done, and that changes the feel of the hearing immediately. That choice matters a lot. The second she starts defending Trump politically, instead of answering narrowly as Attorney General, Lieu gets what he wants, a chance to argue that she is protecting him rather than evaluating evidence independently. Would that answer have satisfied you if you were watching live? Probably not if you were looking for a legal answer rather than a political one. From the outside, Bondi looks less like a neutral law enforcement official in that moment and more like a loyal defender. Whether fair or not, that is the impression Lieu is clearly trying to create for the audience. Lieu hears the opening, takes it, and raises the stakes again.
I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath, and this is all on videotape. You said there's no evidence of a crime. I'm showing you, here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center.
Once the words lied under oath hit the room, the hearing stops feeling like a tough exchange and starts feeling like open political warfare. That is not casual language. That is the kind of accusation that instantly grabs attention, especially in a public hearing with cameras rolling. Lieu knows exactly how serious that sounds. He uses it anyway because he wants to show total confidence in his attack. He is no longer hinting that Bondi is dodging. He is accusing her of saying something false in an official setting. Bondi's reaction is immediate and emotional. She does not calmly deflect. She snaps back. That reaction may be understandable, but politically, it also tells viewers that the exchange hit a nerve. A lot of viral hearing moments come from that exact turn, the point where both sides stop pretending they are in a routine oversight exchange and start treating the moment like a public showdown. What follows is Lieu trying to make that accusation feel backed by something concrete.
He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop the limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell, so should the men who patronized his operation. And as we say here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
The closing stretch is pure pressure. Lieu stacks allegation on top of allegation, adds moral outrage, brings the focus back to victims, and ends with a demand for resignation. He is not merely questioning Bondi anymore. He is trying to discredit her fitness to stay in office. A key point here. Lieu is presenting claims and saying they deserve investigation. He is using the hearing to argue that the Justice Department failed to pursue leads. That is different from proving the allegations in the hearing itself. Still, politically, that distinction often gets blurred once the exchange becomes that heated. Bondi, meanwhile, never really regains control of the moment after the Trump section. Once she gives Lieu the no evidence line in that form, he spends the rest of his time trying to make her look like she spoke too broadly and too confidently. And that final resignation line is meant for more than Bondi. It is meant for viewers online, for future clips, and for anyone ready to treat the exchange as a symbol of a larger failure around the Epstein case. What stands out after watching all of that is not just the anger, it is the shape of the argument. Lieu came in trying to show that Bondi was not merely cautious or bureaucratic, but actively unwilling to pursue powerful men tied to Epstein-related allegations. Bondi tried to push back by pointing to past failures and by defending Trump more broadly, but that response only gave Lieu more room to say she was protecting allies instead of answering as Attorney General. The larger question hanging over the hearing is pretty obvious. Was Bondi refusing to discuss unproven claims carefully, or did her answers make it look like politically connected names are still getting special treatment? That is why people react so strongly to an exchange like that. The facts, the tone, and the power around the names involved all collide at once. Subscribe for more political hearing breakdowns like this, and drop your take in the comments, especially on whether Bondi looked careful, evasive, or flat-out cornered during that exchange.